Have you ever felt completely exhausted, even though you didn't really do anything physically demanding? It's not because you didn't sleep well. It's that your mind kept running the same loops over and over about how others see you, about the things you wish people would just understand or acknowledge. You wonder, did I say something wrong, or are they judging me? And before you know it, waves of invisible anxiety start rising inside you. You feel drained, and you don't even know why. Then one day, you realize you've lost control of your own rhythm. You wake up and grab your phone before you've even taken a deep breath. You say yes to things when your heart is screaming no. You move through your day like a machine functioning but not living. And maybe deep down, what exhausts you the most is not life itself, but the need to hold everything together, to be lovable, to be perfect, to meet everyone's expectations. But the more you try to hold it all, the more you lose touch with yourself. What if the secret to peace isn't about holding on tighter, but about learning how to let go? Let's take a deeper look through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, where the simplest truths often open the doors to the deepest freedom. 1. Cut the invisible strings of expectation. Have you ever felt worn out and couldn't quite name why? It's not that your workload was overwhelming. It's not because something traumatic happened. It's just this quiet, constant heaviness, like an invisible thread wrapped tight around your chest. Not enough to break you in a moment, but slowly, quietly, enough to wear you down over time. Over the years, I've sat with many people in my life as a monk here in the US. They don't come to me asking about karma or lofty Buddhist doctrines. They come because they're tired in their hearts, tired in their souls. And often after we talk for a while, we discover it's not that others didn't love them enough. It's that inside there was a thread, an expectation that had been tied there for a very long time. The expectation to be understood, the hope that your partner will always listen, the wish that your children will be grateful, or your friends will never change. And maybe most of all, the belief that if you're good, then people will treat you kindly in return. I'm not saying expectations are bad. I get it. They're human. They're real. But the problem isn't whether or not you have expectations. The problem is when those expectations become chains. The Buddha once said, attachment is suffering. The tighter you grip, the more it hurts. The moment you start thinking they should have known better, that's when their actions, even if not wrong, feel like betrayal. Many of us walk through life with genuinely good hearts, but those hearts get entangled in one simple thread, the wish that others will be good back. And when they're not, instead of letting go, we hold on tighter. What did I do wrong? Why don't they understand? I've given so much. How could they just stay silent? I once met a strong, successful woman, but when she sat across from me, she broke down in tears because her husband forgot their anniversary. No gift, no message, just nothing. But what hurt her wasn't the missed celebration. It was the silent thread tied to her heart that whispered, if he truly loved me, he would have remembered. That tiny thread, it tightened with every memory of his indifference. No one could see it, but she felt it every time. I didn't tell her not to feel. I simply asked, If you could untie that thread, would it still hurt this much? You see, when expectations are shattered, we don't just ache because of what someone did. We ache because, in our minds, they should have done something different. But life doesn't follow the script we wrote, and people weren't born to perform the roles we secretly assigned them. This doesn't mean you stop loving, not at all. It just means you're invited to try something different. Let go of one thread each day. Let go of the need to always be understood. Let go of the hope that someone will come back. Let go of the belief that kindness guarantees loyalty. Not to become cold or distant, but to give your heart the space to breathe again. Like a kite finally released from the grip of the wind. You can still care, still love, but from a heart that's no longer chained to the idea of how things must be. When you let go, you don't lose anything. You simply return life to what it truly is and return yourself to a kind of peace that no one else can give or take away. People may still not understand. They may still forget. They may not respond the way you hoped. But here's the shift. You won't be pulled into the same pain anymore. And that is a freedom far deeper than anything outside could ever offer. So if your heart feels heavy today, just pause for a moment and ask, what am I expecting from someone right now? Which thread inside me is holding too tightly? And if I let it go, would I feel lighter? You don't have to let go of everything all at once. Just a little, each day. And you'll begin to realize the exhaustion was never about what they did, but about how tightly you were holding on. Let it go, and let yourself rest. 2. You are not the storm. You are the sky. There's a quiet, almost invisible moment when you pause and realize I'm feeling anxious. In the moment you can see your anxiety, something powerful happens. You are no longer that anxiety. You are the one witnessing it. Let me invite you to imagine something. There's a storm rising, dark clouds gathering thunder, rumbling winds howling. That storm is anger, sadness, confusion, all the emotions that crash into you when something touches an old wound inside. But here's the truth. You are not the storm. You are the sky, vast, open, and still, where storms simply pass through. Emotions are not the enemy. They are a natural part of being human. The real suffering begins when we start identifying with them. When we say, I'm an angry person, instead of I'm feeling anger. When we say I'm a failure, instead of I'm experiencing a feeling of failure. It might sound like a small difference, but that subtle shift opens the door to emotional freedom. I once sat with a man in his 60s, a man who had endured divorce, job loss, broken relationships. And with quiet pain, he said to me, I am unworthy. I didn't deny his pain. But I gently asked, is that the truth? Or is that just a storm passing through your heart? He went quiet. Then he cried. You see, when strong emotions rise and we're not mindful, they consume us. We forget where we end and the emotion begins. We become the anger. We become the anxiety. And we suffer not from life, but from our own identification with the storm. But the Buddha taught something incredibly profound. To recognize anger is wisdom. When you can see your anger, you are no longer caught in it. When you can name your sadness, you take a step back from its control. That space, that tiny gap between feeling and reacting, is where your freedom lives. True freedom isn't the absence of emotion. It's not being swept away by them like a leaf in the storm. So the next time someone triggers you, try this simple practice. Before you react, pause and quietly say to yourself, I see that anger is rising. Then just take a deep breath. That's it. And in that moment, you'll feel something shift. It's like taking a single step back and suddenly you see the whole sky again. I always say, emotions are like passing clouds. They come and they go. They might block the sun for a while, but they can never destroy the sky. And you, dear friend, are the sky. The sky of your awareness is wide enough to hold it all: joy and sorrow, love and fear. It doesn't judge. It doesn't cling. It doesn't push away. Only our ego tries to control or suppress what arises inside us. But your true nature is far more spacious than that. A spiritual practitioner is not someone who no longer feels emotion. A practitioner is someone who sees the emotion as it arises and doesn't let it rule them. You don't need to fix every storm inside you. You just need to see it. Breathe through it. Let it pass. Every time you do, you step out of the role you've been playing and return to who you really are. And if you do get swept up in a storm, don't worry. The sky never disappears just because it rained. You can always return. Notice, breathe, smile, and stand tall like the sky. You are not moody. You're not weak because you feel sad. You are simply human, learning to watch the clouds float by without chasing them. And that is the beginning of real peace. 3. Learn the art of letting go so you don't burn out. Holding on. There's something I've seen again and again in people from all walks of life, no matter where they come from, how old they are, or whether they live simply or have found great success. It's this quiet kind of exhaustion, the kind that creeps in even when nothing on the outside seems wrong. Have you ever felt it? When your life seems fine on the surface, work is steady, your family is okay, your health is decent, but deep down, it feels like you're straining to hold something together, afraid it might slip through your hands. That, my friend, is the exhaustion of trying to control something that was never really yours to begin with. We often think pain comes from what we lose. But in truth, the deepest pain comes from what we refuse to let go of, especially when it's already slipping away. I once spoke with a man in his 50s. He'd been divorced for 4 years. He said, I've accepted it, but every time I think about her, I still feel drained. So I asked him gently, have you truly let go? Or have you just stopped saying it out loud while still clinging tightly to the image of her in your mind? He went silent for a long time, because sometimes we think we've let go, but really, we've just stopped talking about it. We still hold on to someone's face in our memory. We wait for an explanation. We want them to understand, to come back, or at least admit we were right. And that quiet waiting, as invisible as it may seem, is quietly draining our energy every day. Letting go isn't the same as giving up. It doesn't mean you don't care. Letting go simply means you stop gripping so tightly and you allow life to move in its own way. It's like holding a rope that's tied to a boulder. You think if you just hang on long enough, you'll save something. But in reality, your hands are bleeding, the rock isn't moving, and you're the one getting hurt. And if you choose to let go, it's not because you don't love. It's because you're done being wounded by what you cannot change. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to sit down, take a deep breath, and ask, what am I still holding on to? And do I have the strength to keep holding it? Maybe it's a fading relationship. Maybe it's a hope that someone will finally change. Maybe it's the old version of yourself, the person you thought you were supposed to be. None of those things are inherently wrong. But if holding on is only making you suffer, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to let go. Letting go isn't about abandoning life. It's about coming home to yourself. It's about freeing yourself from dependency on something outside of you. You can still love. You can still dream. But you no longer trade your peace to chase what no longer fits your soul. I know it sounds simple, but letting go is an inner art. It doesn't happen in one bold decision. It happens in daily practice, in each breath, in each quiet choice. The choice to stay silent instead of arguing. The choice to smile instead of demanding. The choice to whisper to yourself, they don't need to understand. I understand, and that's enough. And with time, you begin to see you don't need to strain to be loved. You don't have to fight to keep someone. You don't have to be perfect to deserve peace. You just need the courage to let go. Let go so you don't wear yourself out trying to hold on. Let go so your hands can feel lighter. Let go so you can finally return to being you, unbound, unchained, and free from waiting. And if today there's something you're clinging to that's weighing you down, maybe the quiet message for your heart is this: you don't have to carry it anymore. I'll still be here, sitting beside you, walking this journey with you, one rope at a time, one ache at a time, until one day your heart feels as light as a leaf floating across a clear blue sky. And perhaps peace was always there. We just couldn't feel it because our hands were too full. Awaken before you react. That's where wisdom begins. Have you ever said something in the heat of anger, only to feel a deep regret lingering with you the rest of the day? Or maybe you've had the urge to fire off a reply to a text that upset you. Quick, sharp, and automatic, like a knee-jerk reaction. And then later, once everything settled down, you found yourself thinking, if only I had stayed quiet for just a few seconds, maybe things would have turned out differently. I believe we've all been there. Reacting is part of being human. It's built into our survival instincts. But not every reaction is necessary, and certainly not every reaction is right. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a subtle yet powerful teaching. Reaction is karma. Pause is wisdom. You don't have to stay silent all day. You don't have to meditate for hours. Sometimes all it takes is one simple pause, just a breath, right before you respond. And that tiny space opens the door to real freedom. I remember one afternoon at the monastery. A young man came to me, frustrated, upset, talking fast. Master, I can't take it anymore. I just had a huge fight with my mom. I know I was wrong, but I just couldn't hold it in. I invited him to sit. We didn't talk much. I simply asked him this: do you know that the moment between hearing what your mother said And your reaction is exactly where suffering begins, and also where liberation begins. He looked at me surprised, and I continued. If you could have paused for just 1 second, 1 breath, 1 moment to notice the storm rising inside you, that reaction might not have happened. 1 second. But that single second can change your entire day, sometimes even your entire relationship. In daily life, you can't avoid moments that annoy or upset you. Someone cuts the line, an email comes off rude, a comment hits a nerve. But what you can choose is how you respond. It's like someone throwing a rock into a lake. If the water is still, it ripples briefly, then returns to calm. But if the surface is already choppy, that same rock stirs up a storm. In the same way, if your mind holds a pause, your reaction becomes awareness. And your action then comes not from habit or ego, but from clarity. I often encourage people to practice one simple habit. When you feel a reaction rising, whether anger, sadness, or the urge to argue, pause. Take a deep breath and gently ask yourself, where is this coming from in me? Is it coming from old wounds, from pride, from fear? Or is it rising from stillness, the place within you that simply observes that moment? Is the shift from reacting blindly to responding wisely. You're no longer being pulled by the wave. You're standing on the shore, watching it crash, and choosing not to jump in. And you know something. The people who can pause those are the ones with the deepest inner strength, not the ones who speak the fastest or fight the hardest. True strength is knowing you could react, but choosing peace instead. That's real courage. Courage not to win. Courage not to be right. Courage to protect your peace above all else. So, no, you don't have to be someone who never feels anger. You just need to be someone who sees it rising and chooses not to let it speak for you. Because every unfiltered reaction becomes karma, but every reaction brought into the light of awareness becomes the seed of wisdom. Next time, your heart begins to stir, pause, just for a breath, just for a heartbeat, and watch what happens. I won't promise that life will instantly become easier, but I truly believe in that space of stillness, something in you will gently open. A quiet door to freedom, where you're no longer driven by reaction, but living your life with intention, awareness, and peace. Become the observer, not the role. Imagine a stage. The lights are warm, the music begins, and then you walk out into the spotlight, playing a role in a script you never agreed to. The role of the one who's always trying to be loved. The role of the one who needs to be validated. Or maybe the failure trying to prove they're worth something. Sound familiar? You see, as we grow up, we begin to wear all kinds of roles. No one tells us to take them on. But somehow, we start to believe that without them, we won't be seen accepted, or even allowed to exist. And so day after day, we live out a script written by others, or by the invisible voices in our own minds. I have to be strong. I must not make mistakes. I need to please everyone so I won't be abandoned. I once sat with a woman in her 60s, retired, with 3 grown children. She said to me, "My whole life has been one long performance. The perfect wife, the devoted mother, the loyal employee. But now that all those roles are over, I don't know who I am anymore." I looked into her eyes and gently said, "Maybe it's because you've spent your whole life on the stage, but never stepped down to become the one watching it. And that right there is the turning point. When you identify with a role, you get swept up in every line, every reaction, every expectation. You cry real tears. You feel real pain. You carry real exhaustion. But you forget that you can stop playing the part, because you are not just a character in the story. You are the one seeing the story unfold. You are the one who can step back, sit down, and take a deep breath, and say to yourself, "Oh, I'm trying to earn someone's approval again. Oh, I'm reacting like I'm being rejected when no one's even rejecting me." That's when the role loses its grip and you become the observer. The observer doesn't judge. The observer doesn't try to fix. The observer simply sees things as they are. And here's the magic. The moment you clearly see the role you've been playing, it no longer has power over you. You're not being run by the story in your mind. You're watching it like a play, unfolding on a stage. And you know what? Life doesn't demand that you perform forever. It only offers you the stage. You get to choose. You can choose to stay in the role, seeking applause, chasing meaning, trying to get it all right. Or you can choose to step back into stillness, to stand outside the struggle in quiet freedom. I once told a student, when you're no longer caught up in the story in your mind, that's the moment you've stepped off the stage. And that doesn't make you cold or indifferent. In fact, it allows you to live more honestly, more presently, and with a lighter heart. You can still love without playing the role of the one who always sacrifices. You can still work hard without becoming the one who needs to be praised. You can even fail without locking yourself into the role of the worthless one. You'll see the roles arise, but you'll no longer claim them as you. It's like sitting on top of a hill, watching the clouds drift by. You see them, you name them, but you don't chase them, because you're not the cloud, you're the sky. So if today you find yourself slipping into one of those old familiar roles, the one who must be right, the one who's wounded, the one carrying all the weight, pause for a moment, close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and gently ask, am I watching what's happening inside me? Or am I living as if I'm what's happening? Choose to become the observer, because in that space, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to return to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it's only when we finally step off the stage that we begin to truly live. 6. Focus is the power that brings you back to yourself. I remember once sitting in a quiet park in California. An older man sat down beside me holding a warm cup of coffee, his eyes gazing off into the distance. We didn't speak for several minutes. Then he let out a soft sigh and said, "I feel like I'm living, but I'm not really here." I smiled gently and replied, "That's something most of us don't realize until the mind grows more tired than the body." Have you ever felt like that? Life keeps moving work-family messages, appointments, but your mind feels scattered into 100 directions. You're sitting here physically present, but mentally, you're in tomorrow's meeting an unread message or a painful memory from 2 years ago. That's a clear sign your mind is drifting away from your true self. And what you need is focus. Not the kind of focus that tenses your body and forces productivity, but the kind of focus that's like a flashlight in the dark, shining on one thing at a time, helping you clearly see your path forward. In Buddhism, we call this mindfulness. It's not something mystical or far away. It's a simple but incredibly powerful ability to know what you're doing as you're doing it. When drinking water, know you're drinking water. When walking, know you're walking. When breathing, know you're breathing. It sounds simple, but truly, this alone can change your entire life, because it's through this quiet presence that peace and wisdom begin to bloom. When you're no longer pulled in every direction, you begin to see clearly what actually matters to you. You no longer react impulsively or chase every passing thought. Your mind becomes still, like a calm lake. And from that stillness, the reflection of your life becomes crystal clear. Someone once asked me, "Master, how do I stop feeling overwhelmed by all the choices I have to make?" Each day, I answered with something simple. Just know clearly what you are doing in this moment. The rest will settle on its own. Because most of the chaos in life doesn't come from our circumstances. It comes from a mind that's scattered constantly, worrying about what hasn't happened, or regretting what already has. You don't need to do 10 things at once to feel valuable. You only need to do one thing with full presence. I once watched an elderly woman arranging flowers at the temple courtyard. Each stem, each leaf, she placed them in the vase, as if it were the most important thing in the world. And to her, it was. No rush, no distraction, no striving for more. In that moment, I thought to myself, mindfulness isn't something lofty. It's simply the depth of attention that makes everyday life feel like a miracle. And I believe you can live like that too, whether you're driving, cooking dinner, or having a conversation with someone you love. When you return to the present, your mind begins to soften and open. We don't lack time. We lack presence. The world today is louder than ever. Notifications, breaking news, emotional noise all flooding in. And if you don't hold onto your mind, you might just lose yourself in all of it. But when you know how to come back to yourself, even one breath can become a sanctuary. So I invite you right now, just pause for a few seconds. Take a deep breath in and a gentle breath out. Then ask yourself softly, where is my mind right now? That one question repeated daily is how you become the keeper of your own inner light. And that light, no one can ever take away. Focus isn't about doing more. It's about living deeper and slowly coming home to yourself, one breath at a time. 7. Do less, but go deeper and be fully present. Have you ever felt that even after doing so many things throughout the day, when night falls, your heart still feels empty, like you went through the motions, checked off the tasks, but never truly touched anything meaningful? In a world that glorifies being busy, we're constantly encouraged to do more, achieve more, prove more. The more we do, the more valuable we think we are. The more roles we take on, the more important we feel. But what no one tells you is this: if you run too fast, you might lose yourself along the way. No one teaches us how to pause. No one tells us that one action done mindfully can go deeper than 10 things done in a rush. You can clean the house, answer emails, drive, attend meetings all day, yet your mind never actually shows up. And even when everything's done, you still feel like you haven't truly lived. The truth is, it's not that you're doing too little. It's that you're doing too much without awareness. So what would happen if you did less, but with full presence? Imagine this. You're sitting with a cup of warm tea. No rush. No glancing at your phone. No thinking of what's next. You take a sip and actually taste it. You are there, fully. No need to prove. No need to perform. Just you and this moment. And it's enough. A day like that doesn't need to be packed with events. It only needs you truly present in everything you do. Modern life teaches you that your worth lies in multitasking. But ancient wisdom reminds us depth matters more than quantity. You can talk to someone for 5 minutes and they'll remember it for a lifetime simply because you were fully present. You can do one small task with a clear, steady mind, and that energy can carry peace into your whole day. Doing less doesn't mean you're lazy. It means you're awake. It means you're protecting your mind from being scattered. It means you're honoring what really matters. You weren't born to live like a machine, just ticking off to-do lists. You're here not to rush through life, but to touch life with your presence. And no, you don't have to quit everything. Just be intentional. Instead of replying to every message instantly, maybe have one meaningful phone call. Instead of saying yes to every invite, maybe choose a quiet afternoon with someone you love. Instead of trying to finish 10 things, do 3 with full attention and gratitude. You don't need a packed calendar to feel worthy. You just need to know. Each moment lived fully is already enough. Beneath the pressure to stay constantly busy, maybe you're simply exhausted from forgetting what truly matters. And that's not found in your task list. It's found in how you show up to your life. So if today you feel like you're being swept up too fast, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what really matters to me right now? Am I doing this with presence or just trying to get through it? Choose depth over speed, quality over quantity, presence over productivity. Because sometimes doing less is exactly how you come back to yourself, fully and truly alive. 8. Let go of the inner script. Not every story in your head is true. Have you ever sent someone a message and spent the entire evening checking if they'd read it yet? When there's no reply, your mind kicks into overdrive. They must be upset with me. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they don't care about me anymore. And suddenly, one small thing, a message left unread, becomes the hook for an entire emotional spiral. But the truth, they were just busy. And every story you told yourself was written by your own mind. See, suffering often doesn't come from reality. It comes from the story we attach to reality. one indifferent glance, one vague comment, one time someone forgets to respond, and our mind starts weaving, and it weaves well. It's vivid. It feels real. Your mind might start replaying old memories, times you were left out or abandoned. It pieces together every glance, every pause, every silence, until it arrives at a definite conclusion. They don't care about you anymore. But is that really true? Have you ever paused, taken a deep breath, and asked, is this really happening out there? Or just in my head? Most of the time, we're not living in the moment. We're living inside a mental movie, we're writing, directing, and starring in all at once. And the worst part, that movie usually has a sad script. It rarely ends in peace. It digs up old wounds, amplifies our fears, and whispers, you're not enough. You're not loved. You're not chosen. Your mind doesn't do this to punish you. It's just following an old pattern, one that thinks, if I imagine the worst, maybe I won't be surprised. But what your mind doesn't realize is that these stories are the pain, not the reality itself. So, how do you break free? Not by forcing your mind to shut up, not by pushing emotions down, but by seeing clearly and not believing every story it tells. You can listen to the thoughts without becoming the character. You can notice the narrative without following its script. It's like watching a sad movie. You may tear up, you may feel deeply, but you still know it's just a film, and you don't lose yourself in it. It's the same with your inner world. Learn to observe the story without assuming it's the truth. Someone not replying doesn't mean they're rejecting you. Feeling unnoticed for a moment doesn't mean you don't matter. Those are just moments. The rest, that's what your mind adds, and you have a choice to stop adding. To stop painting a dramatic scene onto something that was probably just ordinary. To catch your mind mid-script and gently put the pen down. So, next time you feel uneasy, misunderstood, or hurt, ask yourself one powerful question. Is it really true? Just 4 words, but they can pull you out of an old story and bring you back to something softer, something more real. The truth is, you're not as rejected as you think. You're not as forgotten as you fear, and you don't have to react to everything right away. All you need is to see the story and let it go, because sometimes it's not someone else who hurts you. It's the story you keep telling yourself about something that never even happened. 9. Softness in pain is not weakness. When you're hurt, the first response doesn't happen in your mind. It happens in your body and your heart. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, and if you really pay attention, your heart curls up like a hedgehog spikes out, ready to defend itself, ready to build a wall, ready to never get hurt again. That response, it's natural. You've trusted and been betrayed. You've opened up and been dismissed. You've been kind and were met with silence. So over time, you learn to toughen up thinking that's the only way to survive. But what most people don't tell you is this. Every time you build a wall around your heart to protect it, you also block the very healing your heart is longing for. Because healing doesn't happen in tightness. It happens in softness. I know it sounds counterintuitive. Who can possibly stay soft when they're hurting? But the Buddha teaches us this. True strength isn't about feeling nothing. It's about keeping your heart open even when it's been wounded. That's not weakness. That's a rare, deep kind of courage. The courage not to grow bitter. The courage not to hurt others just because you were once hurt. The courage to stay kind, even when life tries to harden you. You don't have to pretend you're okay when you're not, but you also don't have to turn your pain into armor. You can sit with your pain, breathe with it, and stay present in life instead of shrinking away from it. Picture your heart as an open hand. When pain hits, that hand instinctively closes into a fist. But if you gently keep it open, trembling, and all something beautiful happens, light begins to seep in. And in that moment, you realize you're not breaking, you're not weakening. You're becoming more human, more seasoned, more whole. More willing to feel your own emotions even if others won't understand them. Someone once told me, "I hate feeling weak when someone hurts me." I just smiled and said, "You're not weak for feeling pain. You're strong for being honest about it without turning cruel to yourself." Every time you stay soft in your pain, you give yourself a gift, self-kindness, and that self-kindness, that's the foundation of all true healing. You don't need an apology to reopen your heart. You don't need the world to be fair for you to stay kind. You just need to remember, you don't have to become someone else to avoid pain. You can still be you. You with a tender heart. You who knows how to feel pain but not shut down. You who may have fallen but still chooses gentleness. So if you're hurting right now, and there's a voice inside saying, "Don't let yourself be soft again," pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I protecting myself or just pulling away from life? Because sometimes what keeps us from healing isn't the original wound. It's the way we close ourselves off afterward. So let your heart soften bit by bit. No rush, no force, no need to forgive before you're ready. Just don't lock the door forever. Because where the heart is still slightly open, that's where the light can enter. And that's where healing begins. Tente. Letting go doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're choosing what truly matters. There's a common misunderstanding in life that if you learn to let go, you'll become indifferent. That if you stop reacting to everything, stop getting hurt by little things, stop caring so much about what people say, then you must be cold, distant, disconnected from life. But the truth, it's the exact opposite. Letting go doesn't mean freezing your heart. Letting go doesn't mean checking out of life. Letting go is a wise and intentional act of discernment. It's choosing what's actually worth your care and what's just cluttering your peace, because you simply can't care about everything. If your heart is wide open all the time, with no filter, it will burn out. Letting go doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. It's like tending a garden. If you water both the weeds and the flowers equally, what do you think will grow faster? In the same way, if you constantly feed your energy into every criticism, every sideways glance, every careless comment, you're pouring life into things that don't deserve it. The Buddha never asked us to become numb. He taught us to be mindful, to know what deserves space in our hearts and what we can gently release. I once heard someone say they used to be deeply sensitive. They felt everything got hurt easily, overthought constantly, and over time, they decided, I don't care anymore. But what followed wasn't peace. It was numbness, emptiness, because they didn't let go with wisdom. They let go from exhaustion, and that's an important distinction. Letting go doesn't mean turning off your heart. It means redirecting it toward what's truly worth living for. You can choose not to react to an insult, not because you're weak, but because you value your inner peace too much to lose it over something small. You can stop trying to please everyone, not because you've stopped caring, but because real kindness doesn't need constant validation to exist. You can walk away from a relationship that's run dry, not because you're heartless, but because you love yourself enough not to drag out something that no longer feels real. We live in a noisy world. People talk more, post more, judge more. And if you don't filter what enters your heart, you'll soon feel small, lost, and full of doubt. But that's not the life you were born for. You were born for clarity, for a heart that knows what to keep and what to let pass like the wind. And you don't owe anyone an apology for that. No one gets to shame you for not jumping into every argument. No one gets to demand that you care about every sideways glance. No one gets to decide how you should live just to make them feel comfortable. True letting go is always paired with loving discernment. You can love others, but not cater to every unreasonable demand. You can care, but not get pulled into every drama. You can help, but not lose yourself in the process. So if someone tells you you've changed, you don't care like you used to. Just smile gently, because maybe, just maybe, letting go of a few things is how you've learned to hold on to what truly matters. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming wiser. You're coming home to the one place that deserves your deepest protection, your own heart. And in that quiet space, real love begins to grow again. Slowly, naturally, without force, without noise, without exhaustion. Just enough, just right, just deep, and maybe, just maybe. That's the kind of love the Buddha was pointing us toward all along. 11. Let go of one thing at a time. You don't have to be perfect. Maybe you've believed that to be loved. You have to try really hard, to always say the right thing, to never let anyone down, to become the best version of yourself, even when you're already exhausted inside. And maybe deep down, there's this lingering feeling, I'm not enough, not smart enough, not gentle enough, not successful enough, not likable enough, not strong enough. So day after day you push through, trying to be enough. You carry so many roles on your shoulders: the good child, the dependable friend, the perfect parent, the reliable coworker. But have you ever paused to ask, who's taking care of the real you? The part that doesn't always have it together. The part that's tired of living up to expectations. The part that just wants to breathe without being judged. In Buddhist teachings, no one ever asked you to be perfect. The Buddha never told us to become some flawless ideal. He simply encouraged us to see ourselves clearly and to let go of what isn't true, little by little. Not all at once, but gently, gradually, one expectation at a time. Maybe today, you let go of the idea that others will always understand you. Tomorrow, Maybe you let go of needing to be strong all the time. Another day, you might release the guilt over past mistakes. You don't need to be perfect to live a full life. You just need to be real with yourself. You don't have to do everything right to prove your worth. You just have to sit quietly, feel one breath, and remember you're here. And that alone is enough. Letting go isn't giving up. It's unburdening what was never truly yours so you can live lighter, closer to your truth. You don't have to be positive 24/7. You don't have to always have the answers. You don't owe the world explanations for every decision you make. All you need is the courage to say, I'm learning how to live more honestly, one day at a time. And yes, I know it's not easy. Most of us were taught to be flawless, polished, never make mistakes. But the more you try to be perfect, the further you drift from who you really are. Because peace doesn't come from how much you achieve. It comes from whether you're living in alignment with your heart. So start small. One expectation. Set it down. One role that's draining you. Breathe through it. One standard that no longer serves you. Smile and let it go. You don't have to do it all in one day. Just let go of one thing. Something heavy. Something untrue. Something that's no longer you. And you'll begin to realize you don't need to become enough to be loved. You only need to stop trying to be someone else so you can finally accept yourself. So, if today you feel tired of holding it all together, give yourself space. Sit down, close your eyes, and quietly ask, what am I trying so hard for? Do I really need to carry all of this? Maybe you're not ready to let go of everything, and that's okay. Just know this. Each thing you release is one step closer to your truth. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you. And slowly, gently, you'll feel lighter. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally carrying less. 12. Happiness isn't a destination. It's the ability to pause at the right time. There's a moment in life that's deeply meaningful, but not everyone gets to experience it. And no, it's not when you finally achieve something big. It's not when you're honored, recognized, or reach the so-called top after a long climb. It's the moment you simply pause. You stop, you take a breath, you look around, and then out of nowhere, a quiet question arises in your heart. Have I gone far enough? Am I already enough? Have you ever asked yourself that? Or are you caught in the same invisible race as everyone else, chasing something unclear with no finish line in sight? Maybe you're striving for a solid career. Maybe you're working hard to build a picture-perfect family. Or maybe you're on a mission to become a better version of yourself each day, more productive, more patient, more kind. None of those are wrong. But sometimes the exhaustion we feel doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from not knowing when to stop. Some people spend their entire lives chasing happiness, but never actually feel happy. Not because they didn't try hard enough, but because they never paused long enough to realize that happiness had already shown up many times. They were just too busy to notice. Maybe it came one quiet afternoon, a cup of tea in your hand, sunlight pouring through the window, and no thought racing in your mind. Maybe it was in a loved one's smile warming your heart without a word. Or maybe it was just that morning when you woke up, took a deep breath, and realized, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I still have someone beside me. These moments may seem small, but they are big enough to nourish your soul for an entire day. The real question is, have you slowed down long enough to notice them? This world tells you to keep moving, keep climbing, never stop, never slow down. But the Buddha teaches something different. Sometimes the most profound step you can take is to pause. Pause to feel grateful. Pause to listen inward. Pause so you don't lose yourself chasing things that only cover up what matters most, your heart. You don't need to check off every goal to feel fulfilled. You don't need to reach some grand peak to say your life has meaning. You just need to pause right now, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this enough? No one else has to answer that for you. You don't need to wait for a big occasion to ask it. You just need to give yourself permission to be grateful for what already is, instead of constantly chasing what's not yet here. Because happiness isn't about where you're going. It's about whether you're present on the journey. So if you're feeling tired, if you're worn down from endlessly trying to get there, I invite you to stop just for a moment. Sit down, close your eyes, and instead of asking, what should I do next? Ask, what do I already have in my hands? You might be surprised, because the thing you've been searching for might have been here all along. You just hadn't paused long enough to see it clearly. And maybe, just maybe, knowing when to stop is the greatest art of living there is. Not to give up, but to live more truthfully. Not to quit, but to realize this happiness is not the destination. It's your ability to pause and feel the beauty of the road you're already walking. Maybe throughout this entire lifetime, what we truly long for isn't another achievement, another award, or more praise, but simply a place where our heart can finally rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from giving up, but the kind that comes from fullness and deep acceptance. And sometimes that peace doesn't come from pushing harder, but from pausing long enough to realize you already hold the most important things in your hands. Happiness doesn't need to be created. It only needs to be recognized in a single breath, in the eyes of someone you love, in the quiet calm after a long day, and most importantly, within you. If something in today's message touched your heart, if it stirred a quiet corner inside you that's been waiting to be heard, then I invite you to keep walking this path with me and with others who are learning to live more mindfully, more deeply, one day at a time. Hit subscribe to Buddhism Seeds so you won't miss any upcoming reflections on mindfulness meditation and Buddhist wisdom. If this video brought you even a small sense of peace or clarity, please tap like. It helps YouTube show you more content like this. Share it with someone who might also need a gentle pause. And don't forget to leave a comment below. What does happiness mean to you right now? I read every single one, and I truly hope to see you again. Not in a more perfect version of yourself, but in that sacred place where you finally begin to come home to who you truly are.